Beyond the black line, Kinira was a village untouched by time. Its mud brick houses clustered beneath towering baobab trees, their roots tangled like the village's ancient secrets. The people of Kinira lived simply, bound by traditions passed down through countless generations. They rose with the sun, toiled in the fields, and rested under the starlit sky, believing the world was as it had always been. Among them was Nora, a young woman unlike any other. While others accepted the village laws without question, Nora's mind was restless. She would sit by the river for hours, watching the water's endless flow, wondering why some truths were hidden and some questions forbidden. One evening, as the sky turned from gold to deep indigo, a whisper ran through the village. The elders had found something, a map, old and fragile, buried beneath the roots of the great baobab. The village council gathered in the central square, their faces grave. From behind a screen of ancient cloth, the village chief held up the map. Its surface was cracked and stained, but a single black line was drawn boldly across it. It was unlike any path or river they knew, a stark, straight line that seemed to cut the land in two. An old voice broke the silence. It was Baba Ngoma, the village storyteller and keeper of legends. This is the black line, the mark of truth and sacrifice. It is said that whoever dares to cross it will face the reality hidden from our eyes, but the price they pay will be greater than we can imagine. The crowd murmured uneasily. Fear had settled like a heavy fog. The chief's voice rang out. No one shall cross the black line. To do so is to invite chaos upon us all. It is forbidden, by law and by spirit. But Nora's heart beat with a wild hope. She saw in the black line not danger, but a challenge, a key to unlock the mysteries she had longed to understand. That night, as the village slept beneath the silver moon, Nora lay awake. The faces of her ancestors seemed to hover in the flickering firelight. Her fingers traced the worn edges of the map she had secretly taken. What truth lay beyond the black line? What would she find if she dared to cross? The answer whispered through the wind, calling her forward into the unknown. The night was thick with silence as Nora slipped quietly from her home, the map clutched tightly in her hand. The moon was a sliver in the sky, barely enough to light her path through the dense forest. Every step crunched softly on the dry leaves, but Nora's heart thundered louder than any noise. She moved swiftly, guided only by the faded lines on the ancient map. The air smelled of earth and wild herbs, and shadows stretched long and strange between the trees. Somewhere nearby, the hoot of an owl pierced the quiet, making her jump. As she walked deeper into the wilderness surrounding Kinira, Nora's mind raced with questions. Would the black line really show her the truth? And what truth could possibly demand such a terrifying price? After what felt like hours, the trees thinned, and ahead of her lay a narrow clearing bathed in pale moonlight. There it was, the black line. It was more strange and beautiful than Nora had imagined. The line was not painted or carved, but seemed to pulse softly beneath the soil, a narrow strip of earth as dark as obsidian, glowing faintly with an otherworldly light. Nora's breath caught. The stories had not done it justice. She stepped forward slowly, one foot hovering above the line. Then, with a steadying breath, she crossed. The moment her foot touched the other side, a cold wind whipped through the clearing, carrying whispers she could almost understand. The ground trembled beneath her feet, and her vision blurred. When Nora opened her eyes again, she was standing in a place that looked exactly like Kinira, but it was different. The air was too still, the colors too bright, and the people ignored her. She called out, but her voice seemed swallowed by the thick air. Faces turned away, eyes glazed and empty. No one met her gaze. No one spoke. Her own mother passed her by without recognition, as if Nora was a ghost. Fear curled in Nora's stomach, but curiosity pushed her forward. What was this place? A mirror? A prison? She had crossed the black line, but had she stepped into truth, or a lie? Chapter 3. The Mirror World, Expanded. Nora wandered through the silent village, her heart pounding in confusion and dread. Every familiar sight now felt strange, as if the world itself had been twisted into a cruel imitation. The sun hung high in the sky, casting sharp shadows on spotless streets. Flowers bloomed with unnatural perfection, and the market stalls overflowed with ripe fruits and bright fabrics. Yet the air was thick with an eerie stillness, no laughter, no chatter, no greetings. She called out again, her voice hoarse, but no one answered. People brushed past her as if she were invisible, their eyes glazed and empty, like puppets moving through a carefully rehearsed play. Nora's feet carried her to the edge of the village, where a small, weathered hut stood hidden behind tall grass. The door creaked open before she touched it, revealing a dim interior. Inside, shackled to the wall, was a woman, her face pale and gaunt, her mouth sewn shut with rough thread. Her eyes burned with silent desperation. Nora's breath caught. Who was this prisoner of silence? The woman's eyes flickered toward Nora, pleading. With trembling hands, Nora pulled at the stitches binding the woman's lips. Blood trickled as the thread broke. At last, a whisper escaped. They silence those who speak the truth. In this world, lies bring peace, and truth is a curse. Nora's mind raced. This place, this mirror of her own village, was a prison where honesty was shackled and freedom was an illusion. Why? Nora asked, but the woman could only shake her head weakly. Suddenly, the hut door slammed shut behind them. A cold wind swirled, carrying a voice that seemed to seep from the walls themselves. No one escapes the Black Line's judgment. Speak no truth, or suffer the cost. Nora knew then. Crossing the Black Line had trapped her in a world built on lies. To return, she would have to face the price. A sacrifice greater than she had imagined. Nora's hands trembled as she looked around the dim hut, the weight of the woman's words pressing down on her like a stone. This mirror world was a prison of silence and lies, and the price for truth was higher than she had imagined. She had to find a way back to her own Khaneera, to warn them, to awaken them. But the black line outside the hut shimmered like molten lava, flickering with a fierce, fiery glow that barred her escape. A voice echoed softly, like a breath against her ear. To return, give up what you hold most dear. Nora's mind reeled. What could she sacrifice? Her youth? Her strength? Her dreams? But none of those compared to the one thing she cherished above all, her voice. It was her voice that had carried her questions, her courage, her hope. Tears welled in her eyes. Could she give up the ability to speak? To shout for justice, to plead for change? But if silence was the price to free her village from the chains of ignorance, then she was ready. With a trembling whisper, she said, "Take it." A cold wind swirled around her, lifting her hair and chilling her bones. Her throat tightened, and when she tried to speak again, no sound came out, only silence. The woman by her side smiled sadly, placing a gentle hand on Nora's shoulder. "Now, you carry the truth, but without a voice. Use your silence wisely." Nora stepped forward, toward the glowing black line. Though she could no longer speak, her determination blazed brighter than ever. Crossing back into her world, she knew the path ahead would be harder. But silence could be louder than any shout. Nora returned to Khaneera, crossing the black line once more. The village looked the same, but everything had changed, for she carried a secret that weighed heavier than words. She tried to speak, to warn her people of the mirror world's curse, but no sound escaped her lips. Her voice was gone, sacrificed for the truth. At first, the villagers ignored her silence, seeing only a girl who could no longer speak. But soon, her actions spoke louder than words. Nora began to draw on the ground, painting pictures of the dark world beyond the black line. She helped the imprisoned woman regain strength, bringing her to the village square, where the elders could no longer turn away. Bit by bit, the people of Khaneera began to listen, not with their ears but with their hearts. The silence Nora bore became a language of courage and truth, teaching the village a lesson older than time itself. Sometimes the greatest truths are spoken without words. And though Nora's voice was lost forever, her spirit became a beacon, reminding Khaneera that courage often demands sacrifice, but from that sacrifice, a deeper understanding grows. The black line remained, a boundary between worlds, but Khaneera was no longer afraid. Because now, they understood. Silence can roar louder than any shout.